Board meeting for Monday, April the 24th, 2023. I call this meeting to order. Mr. Bertram, would you call roll, please?
Certainly will. Mr. Moore is excused this evening. Mrs. Schreiber?
Here.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Here.
Mrs. Stewart?
Here.
And Dr. Urso.
I'm here. Could you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So move.
Second.
Questions, concerns, compliments, anything regarding tonight's agenda?
Nope.
Nope. If there are none, to Mr. Bertram.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Dr. Urso.
Yes. Moving on to tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, things to discuss. Were there any donations or any pieces of this that, just for discussion's sake? I do notice where there are some field trips. It looks like Camp Kern for some students. And then hopefully our e-sport team attend the state championship. Yeah, that would be, I know they do a really nice job with that. Other items, Mr. Bertram, within
Yes,
tonight's consent agenda?
I do have some donations.
Great.
And I believe these are for the Midi Olympics from Air Products, Tammy Brown. Thank you. We also, actually, we received two in the amount of $500 for a total. And then also have a donation for the Olympics in the amount of $500. Once again, Air Products.
Great.
And I do want to say before I forget, in the HR agenda, we do have a correction that I'll verbally state, and then we'll make sure the minutes do show it as correct. Celia Hall is not resigning, so we'll pull her from the agenda in the minutes to reflect that. So she is not resigning. She rescinded on 3/29 her resignation.
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding the consent agenda prior to voting?
No. No.
All right, then Mr. Bertram.
All right. Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
And I forgot to acknowledge my buddy next to me on my left, Mr. Key Edwards, who's sitting in for our superintendent, Ms. Hauser, tonight. We welcome you, Mr. Edwards.
Glad to be here.
I was convincing. I was convinced. You convinced me. All right. Moving to Personnel Agenda B. Is there a motion for approval?
So move. Second.
And just for conversation's sake, I believe there's a gentleman on that agenda with my last name. And so that's the reason for Personnel Agenda B. There are no questions or concerns. Mr. Bertram,
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
abstain?
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Okay. Under HR, there is a salary schedule modification for the part-time and substitute employee schedule. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thanks, Ms. Mulligan. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Verlena. Mr. Bertram or Mr. Edwards, can you just give us a brief overview in regards to this?
I'd be happy to. Yes, we have a couple employees that come in and sub in very high-needed areas within the district, and the current rate of $15 an hour is extremely well below market for the value of these individuals, and they're actually in doing jobs that not anybody can come in and do. A lot of them are retired employees, every case that I know of right now. And Key and Superintendent Hauser and I talked about it, and we set a rate at $25 an hour for these specialized areas. We thought it was very fair and reasonable to keep these people coming in and helping us where needed.
All right. How many employees would this represent approximately, or how many positions, I guess, better?
We roughly have 2 that we kind of use this rate for.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Questions?
No.
There are none. Mr. Bertram?
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
And Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the MTA collective bargaining agreement spanning from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2026. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments regarding this prior to voting?
No.
Mr. Bertram?
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes. I want to pause a second and thank everyone involved. I know that there was a lot of conversations. I know it was, from our understanding, they were always positive. They were always moving forward for the best interest of our community, of our children, of our families. And we're thrilled as a board to approve what we think is a very competitive contract that serves our teachers well and will serve our students and community well. And so we thank MTA and we thank our administrators who sat at the table and got this done. If any of my colleagues would like to add to that, but this is a great day for Middletown City Schools because we can see outside of our community and understand that this isn't always the case. And so we are extremely thankful that we were able to get this done in a way that's extremely positive and keeps the enthusiasm in our district in a good place.
I would like to add, in my tenure as a school treasurer and many, many negotiations, I can't count how many, I guess I could, but I don't want to take the time to. This negotiation was the smoothest of all the negotiations that I've had. We had some tough conversations, but it was very open on both sides, and we listened to each other, and in the end, we even had a kumbaya moment. So I was very pleased with the way it went as well. And Lori, you've served your union very well, and
Team effort.
I'm proud to say that I've worked with you.
And just to add one last thing, Ms. Wood has served as the MTA president for 6 years, and we were talking just a few minutes ago that time just gets away from you. And I know you've done an excellent job serving in that capacity. We thank you as a board. I mean, my kids traveled through Central and were a part of your classroom, and then seeing you in this capacity too. You've done a lot for Middletown and Middletown City Schools, and we appreciate it, and so thank you.
And I'd just like to ditto that. I haven't had a long time to work with you, Lori, but thank you for your years of service. So appreciated. And thank you to the teachers and for finalizing the negotiations. The teachers are so deserving of it. And thank the staff and Debbie in her absence for all the hard work on it.
I think it's sometimes when things like this happen, it's an indication that things are working well. When you can go through steps like this in a reasonably strategic fashion and have them turn out and people are reasonably happy with them, I think that's a sign of kind of a settled, I feel like we're on a good track in this district. I really do.
No, I appreciate that. It's just, yeah, it's hard. It's that trying to balance between resources and how to allocate those, and we appreciate our teachers, and I hope they know that many of us are educators, and so from that perspective, we understand the job, we understand the world we live in, and we understand those challenges, and we appreciate it, and hopefully this contract represents that. Also appreciate our treasurer. We have a responsibility to be strong fiscal stewards of taxpayer dollars. And Mr. Bertram does a nice job disseminating information so we can make those decisions and not put us in positions to where we have to go to voters and ask them for additional resources. And so we're thankful for those steps. And Ms. Hauser, Mr. Edwards, everyone at the table, they did a fine job. I see Ms. Bronston back there who will be serving in the capacity moving forward. We're excited to work with you. And so. Anything else regarding that?
Could I
Yeah.
say something to
Yeah.
address Lori? Lori, I would just like to say thank you for setting the foundation for how we would like to proceed in negotiations from this point forward. So just really thank you for working with us, and you will be missed.
All right, that takes us to curriculum and instruction. and a first read. And it looks like we have Ms. Prohaska who is going to walk us through this. And so welcome, Ms. Prohaska.
Thank you. I'm very excited to share this adoption. Been working on it for a year. Do you have that? Hold on one second. Ms. Bertrand's bringing up the slideshow. So our social studies department in grades 7 through 12 have put all kinds of effort into this project this year. It has been, this is 9 years since the middle school has gotten new resources for social studies, and the high school has been 7 years. So this is well overdue to update our materials for our grades 7 through 12. So the adoption process, we started this in August, and I'll go through the timeline. We started this in August, met with the teams. It's a collaborative effort. We reviewed the adoption process. We shared Ed Reports, which is a national website that vets high-quality resources, and they were tasked with choosing 3 out of the list to pilot. So this was all a collaborative effort with the teachers. September, we identified the resources, we worked with the staff, they volunteered who wants to pilot the resources, and we began the pilot process. They received training in October, the pilot staff, and with a focus of they were supposed to do 1 unit to get the picture of all the different resources that we were piloting to come up with a decision. In November, we hosted a feedback session. We've had Newzell in our district for a while with ELA, but they also have a social studies component. So they were reviewing that resource, and we did a feedback session on their thoughts, how does it meet the Ohio standards, things like that. And then we did a check-in with the HMH trainer. Moving on to January, we moved into the McGraw-Hill resource, reviewed that, and also they dug in deep into that as a team and reviewed the platform, the digital platform, and the resources that were available. Again, been working on this all year. In February, a survey was sent out to all 712 social studies staff members to hear feedback comparing the 3 resources that we piloted. Once the survey closed, I met with each team, 7th, 8th, and the 9th through 12 teams to discuss the feedback, to collaborate where direction we want to go, and based on all that information and that research, they decided to move forward with McGraw-Hill. So 7 through government will be getting new resources. These are the resources they will be getting to support their new curriculum. Professional development will be offered too. It will start in August. They will each get a half-day face-to-face in August to launch the new curriculum. September, they're going to have a 30-minute coaching session via Zoom, and then another follow-up in October to keep for any questions or anything with the new resources. Once the staff following this, just like how we did in ELA, once the staff has a semester under their belt with a new resource, the curriculum team comes in and partners with them to rewrite our pacing guides and all of our curriculum documents to mirror the McGraw-Hill product. We wait until January to start that process because the teachers need to get familiar with their resource before we can start mapping out the curriculum and the pacing guide. And that's the overview of the whole adoption process. We will be purchasing digital licenses, a 6-year digital license resource, along with textbooks. And the reason why we still purchase textbooks is students learn in different modes. So some students learn digitally, can read online. Some students actually need to have the textbook or that resource in front of them to help support their learning. So we want to offer both options for our students to support their learning experience.
In terms of, I know like using history, it's a fascinating piece because next week there could be things happening that,
Yes.
And so as you purchase these, like how close up to the print date do they add things that are relevant in regards to, I mean, if there's an election or if there are things that happen that How's that work?
I love that. That's a great question, Randy. We were just talking about that. This, McGraw-Hill just released this. So they're all their resources, 7, 8, and world history, world studies, and American history. Their copyright date is 2023. Government is 2024. So it has all that additional history that has happened. The beauty also, again, 9 years ago when we were working through the digital part, the previous practice was once you buy that digital resource, you didn't get updates. That was 9 years ago practice. The current practice in the instructional digital resources is as new history happens, as updates happen, they update their websites, and the digital side, textbooks won't be obviously updated, but the digital continually gets updated, and the new contracts allow us to receive that new resources.
updates.
So digitally, we'll always be prevalent.
Correct.
Granted, the textbooks it is what it is. There's not much you can do about that. But the platform is modernized, and it has a lot of features where if you need to print something off because it's a newer American history or new experience, we can print that off and the students can have that print copy from the following 6 years.
In the online version, it doesn't mirror the content of the book?
It does currently, but if
of
something
course, yeah,
happens,
yeah.
it will not. There'll be addendums and add-ons.
Gotcha.
So it's print stagnant. But we do need to offer that for our learners who need that print.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this information right at hand, but can you tell me some of the reasons why the people chose the McGraw-Hill? What did they feel was an advantage for Middletown students with that series?
A lot of it's ease of use. When you go digital, you have to really look at those resources and how they're designed digitally. If it's too many clicks, is it too much information? It turns students off and it turns staff off. So one of the features for McGraw-Hill, they're precise and to the point, and it was a lot of less clicks. And their text resources, as they were reviewing them, were, again, had precise and to the point information. A lot of the other resources, like HMH, had abundance of information. It was just not as clean to share out with instruction.
Thank you. Thank you.
Melissa, will you share the funding stream for this?
Yeah.
Yes. The first year will be through ESSER. We allocated money, so the ESSER funds will take care of the first year of the digital license, along with the purchasing of the textbooks and our professional development. And then the final 5 years will only be digital access, because we already have our textbook resources, and that will come out of general fund.
Do you know the cost approximately?
It was 216. I have to double check.
Is that total for every?
Total for all 6 years, but that was split out. It was about 105 ESSER and about 113, give or take, I don't have the exact number, out of general fund. That will start next year.
So the kiddos can access this on their Chromebooks, but can they also access it on their phones?
Yes, through Clever. It's a great resource. We load everything through Clever, that the students can go right in, and the McGraw-Hill app is already on there. We already use McGraw-Hill products for Reveal, our math program, and our science program in K-8. So the uploads and that, it's already there. So you can click on it and use it right on your phone or any other digital resource.
One last question, and I do appreciate you preparing and just going through the process. It does help us kind of understand all the background,
Yes.
and so thank you for that. You said that we're long overdue. What is an optimal length for an adoption, and what would we like to see in the district, like moving forward? I see 6 years, and so I know 6 years for this adoption, and so would that be an approximate amount of time that we
Yes.
should be
Right
operating
now,
under?
we're currently working off a 6-year rotation of all of our resources.
Mhm.
To spread out the funding source that helps
Yeah.
with funding, we have a map. So we implemented math 2 years ago, science 3 years ago, so they'll start circling back. And it's a little different K-5, 6-12, depending on that, but like last year was ELA, so it'll be 6 years. So it's in a cycle, the rotation cycle.
And then as things progress, I mean, will most of it turn digital?
It is all digital, but again, you have learners that need
And does the cost reflect the digital piece, or do they cost because the content is the expensive piece, not the paper?
It's not. The digital side's the expensive piece. The textbook companies have realized that everybody wants digital, and
It's
some
a
people want
shrinking
to text,
market.
they bundle it together, and it's no cost.
Gotcha.
They send the textbooks with it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions?
No, thank you.
I feel like we're drilling this Prohaska tonight. We appreciate all the questions and answers, and so thank you. And so next time we'll come back and be able to vote on this. Is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Nice job.
Under business operations, it looks like we're going to be asked to spend a little bit of money this evening. And so the first item is a contract for HVAC replacements with Prodigy Building Solutions. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
A second. I know we have our business manager here this evening. I know also that he did a nice job a few weeks, months, I don't know, time blends for me, kind of outlining our needs in our district. Do we need a refresher in regards to this?
I'm
good.
satisfied with it.
You're satisfied?
Mhm.
I do know, and Eric, you can attest to this, that the timing is like the supply chain with these materials, my understanding, you correct me if I need to be corrected, it's drawn out. And so where we're going to approve this contract now, this work won't happen for a summer out. Is that correct?
So there are two components. The chiller component, which is the larger one, which is about 1.6 million of the total that we talked about, will actually be not this summer, but the spring or summer of the following year. There's between a 48 and 50 week timeline run-up of getting materials of the chillers to be able to do that. And the chillers are the large outside units that you see at the building, and they're massive. They're the size of a couple of cars. So to get those manufactured over time, once we approve this, is going to take that time frame in order to do it. So that is actually for the following summer. The unit ventilators are a quicker turnaround time period. Those will actually be in this summer. So we'll be doing that component this summer at Amanda.
And so if it's next spring, would it have any interruption to the school day at the buildings of which it's being put into?
No, there shouldn't be any major disruption at all to the school day. In fact, we would like to schedule it where it's not going to be that way.
Mhm.
We've already done 2 replacements at this point. That one, Amanda, their chillers were replaced and started up with very little disruption. And then the second location was Creekview. So that one was done, pardon me, not Creekview, Mayfield. That one was done, and we did not have any disruption there as well. So,
What's the lifespan for these? I see the price tag. I mean, what kind of warranty do we get? And then how long are these things supposed to be operational?
So that's a great question. So where I presented the last time, it's about a 20-year maximum useful life. Once you get to that point, it is used up. As far as warranty-wise, we do get a 10-year warranty on some of the parts, 5-year warranty on another part of the parts, and then installation is that first year. So as you go through that process, there's a multi-tiered warranty structure, but 20 years. So if you go back to when these elementaries were created.
How long ago was that? Is that 20 years?
Right now, we're at that 18, 19, by the time we get in here, 20-year time frame
Mhm.
when the elementaries were done. We're seeing where there are issues now as far as maintenance that's going into those. So we want to go ahead and be ahead of the curve in that. So it's right at that time frame before we get problems.
Last question, are there efficiency gains in installing new units where we'll be able to hopefully, not the amount of the contract, but over time, will it lessen our energy expenditures, or is not dramatic?
So It will lessen our energy expenditures. It is not going to do like what a geothermal type system would be, but to be honest with you, the cost to put those in now is astronomical based upon what you have within the building. So we're going back with newer technology of the same technology, so it is far more efficient. The other part of it is that from an environmental standpoint, it is the upgraded refrigerant. So whereas the old ones are environmentally not sound with the refrigerant that was in them, and in fact with that is becoming an issue as far as being able to get the refrigerant from what was in the machines to now the price of that has skyrocketed because of the fact that they're not manufacturing it anymore. So that's built into it as well. So we will get efficiency gains. We will get cost as far as efficiencies from the maintenance and then also from the refrigerant piece. So it will help, but it's not, it's not going to be, huge gains in that, but it's going to help.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I think we're ready to vote.
All right,
Did
Mrs.
we-
Stewart,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso,
Yes.
and Mrs. Schreiber.
Yes.
The second is, again, with Prodigy Building Solutions, and it is for replacing 36 unit ventilators at Amanda Elementary. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
And I know we had a brief overview, and this work seems to be done sooner
Yes.
in the summer. Are there questions or?
No.
No?
So the useful life on those is much less than the chillers.
Oh, really?
So we're at about a 12 to 15 years, so we're past that time frame. So we are seeing fairly significant issues with those within the building. From a heating and air conditioning standpoint, both, as far as being able to do what the building needs to do. So that's one of the things that we'll see comfort gains in that once those are installed within the building.
And so I see 36, and so are there 36 classrooms or rooms that these are going to go into? So it's the older model where each independent room had its own independent heat and cooling source. Is that
Correct. So it's tied back to a main boiler and a main chiller, but it's piped individually to each of those rooms with unit vents in each one that has fan and outside air that comes in from a classroom perspective. But it is individual units in each of the classrooms, and then multiple places that would be common areas that have multiple. But it is replacing 100% of those in Amanda, which will occur this summer. In fact, that's one of the reasons that the Safety Town was moved from that location. It's been in Amanda for years, but it has now moved to a new school this summer because of that. During the summer, we're actually going to have the HVAC turned off, and it's going to take time to get that done as we phase it in.
Just out of curiosity, it's no bearing on the vote, but what do they do with the old units, those big chillers and those smaller, what happens to that?
They go to be recycled.
Okay.
So they actually go, there's a company that dismantles them, takes parts off of them.
Okay.
All the metal and all the parts inside of them get recycled. They recycle the computer chips because they are computer chip controlled. They all
Oh,
have
gosh.
control panels that go through
Huh.
that, which is all part of the bid.
Okey-doke.
Eric, is that the only building that has those type of ventilators?
It is not.
Central?
Central is as well. So you're going to see right now that those are not having the same issues, although we are evaluating that, and we'll likely see that as another unit coming forward as we go through. But those are the two buildings that are slightly different than the other ones in the district.
Any questions?
No.
Is that enough HVAC work for tonight?
Yes.
And no more HVAC questions? All right.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you very
appreciate it.
much.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
think we're ready to vote.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
And Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
All right, that takes us to committee reports, if I'm looking at the agenda correctly. Did any committees meet since our last meeting? I do know the Community Center Committee did meet, and Ms. Stewart, would you like to give an update in regards to that?
That seems like a very long time ago. I think we're moving right along. Architects have received their marching orders to go out and prepare all the documents and prepare it for bid. They're hoping to break ground somewhere between the July-September timeframe. We are still making contacts, trying to make up a little bit more of the dollars. I think we're still waiting to hear from Cleveland Cliffs. We have heard back from the Community Foundation. I think we'll hear more about that. Randy can report out on where we are with the Community Foundation. And yeah, things seem to be moving right along.
Thank you.
Just a quick update on the Community Foundation. I think verbally anyway, between Debbie and Sarah, the director, we sent our letter requesting $500,000 to go towards the construction. And I think at this time, tentatively, they're thinking about $300,000, and still with the $200,000 to go towards the furnishings in the family zone. Doesn't mean they won't go to 5. They still have another meeting to have. Is it this month, this week, I think?
Tomorrow.
Okay,
Where there's a
and
meeting.
we should have some definite answers by the end of the week, but we're very pleased with the progress we've made.
Just want to echo our appreciation to the foundation for entertaining the request to invest in this community center. I know this is kind of a big project with multiple pieces, whether it be the city and the city government, us as a district, local foundation, local businesses, and that's what I think it makes it complicated, but it does show where we can connect all these pieces together and do something really special that will stay here longer than those chillers will, and those pieces. They'll be here way longer and have a much more significant impact for a lot of folks. And so if anyone from the foundation hears, just know that we're thankful, extremely thankful, and we're excited by our partners like Cleveland Cliffs to sit down and really consider investing in our community because it does create a space that is safe in the summer and after school for folks to go into and have a community within. Other committees, whether it be policy, finance, or DLC, district improvement, DILC, or any other committees meet since last time?
No, policy's coming up Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
And
all
we-
kinds of fun stuff to
And
discuss.
talking with Anita, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Kathy yet since I just got back from my retreat last Friday, that we're going to try and accelerate those to 2 a month to get us caught up sooner than
Okay,
later.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Cool. That takes us Board of Education reports, and it looks like Ms. Scheibert.
Ms.
Anything?
Scheibert has nothing to report.
Nothing to report this night.
No, thank
What about
you.
Ms. Stewart?
Oh, I will, Butler Tech meeting, the all boards meeting is coming up. It is May 3rd, 2023, from 4 to 8 with a board team activity at 5 o'clock. I sent you all a text message. If anyone is interested in participating, you need to RSVP by tomorrow. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and they're looking forward to some participation. So that's the Board of Education.
Where's it being held?
At Butler Tech.
Oh, sure.
Yep, at Butler Tech. So, yeah, if you're interested, you have your cards, just RSVP to Jessica. It's on the back.
So it's for dinner in their
It
little
is for
restaurant?
dinner at their fancy restaurant, yep. Yep. Like to thank my husband, Jimmy Stewart, who came to drop by and support the school district and support me, I suppose. So thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Mulligan, anything to report tonight?
No.
All right, my turn. I would like to just share the excitement that I saw on Facebook and Twitter surrounding prom, and really thankful every time you have events like that, you can see where they can turn into tragedy, and you just hope and pray that that doesn't happen. And I'm really thankful that our young folks were responsible, and it seemed to be a very good event. Like I said, I saw the pictures. It's always fun kind of seeing the young folks all dressed up, and it's, yeah, and so congrats to each of them and the people who were on court. And I think, I wish I had her name, but we have a softball player who's a sophomore, hit her 6th home run this year. I think she tied a record, and it's still early, and so she can still break, and she's a sophomore, and so she's doing quite well. And our Middletown baseball team, I think, out of darkness, they're tied in the 11th inning, 2-2 against Hamilton.
Get them under the lights.
But I do want to express condolences to the family of Amy Peck. I know she has kids in our district, and I know she served while at Creekview Elementary as the secretary there, and tragically passed away a few days ago. And just, yeah, there's not really much you can say that hasn't been said outside of that. Our condolences, and it's just sad to know that she was an integral part of that school, but beyond that, as a mother, yeah, to her kids and in the school community, our heart goes out to them. And I also extend my thoughts to the wife of our principal, at the assistant principal at the high school, Michael Grossenbeck. I believe his wife is really sick, and do hope that there is an improvement in that, and that she can rebound, and because I know they have a really pretty family. I saw a picture of their family online, and do hope and understand where that does kind of ground you when you hear about those things. And so, yeah, and again, to iterate my thanks to Ms. Wood on serving the district well in that capacity for the last 6 years. You deserve to exit and allow somebody else to. You've done a fine job, so thank you. Mr. Edwards, anything to say this evening? You have the mic.
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
You crushed it. You crushed it tonight.
I'd just like to say that as we're very pleased, MTA, we got everything accomplished as we wanted. MCEA, we've had a good day's work there, and I think one more meeting, we'll be wrapping that up. We'll always knock on wood, and look forward to finishing it up and finishing up the school year. Hard to believe we're coming
we're
out
there.
of the final
there.
half a month of school, and we're there. If only the weather would act like it.
Yeah, I can't decide. It's kind of schizophrenic right now. There's nothing else. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved?
A second?
Second.
Mr. Bertram.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Great
We're done.